So, quick overview of what I did. Basically, so I started in Moho. I did my animation in Moho. I created this pictograph rig, which I referenced in. You can see it down here. I broke it a little bit to get the animation exactly how I wanted it to. Learn a lot of things while animating this that I'm going to change. There's a bit of jankiness with the elbows because I didn't really work as hard on it as I wanted to. You can see it doesn't quite line up, and I could have gone to the actions and made a tidier job of that, and I'll get back to pictograph again. I really enjoyed doing the animation. Anyway, so I did this, rendered it all fairly basically, and I could have left it like that, but what I wanted to do was just tie it up a little bit. I thought about doing the shadow in here, but instead what I did, I brought it into DaVinci Resolve. And I'm not going to move it on a timeline because everything's rendered here, and because I've got particles, it's a bit slow. So we have to just deal with the still image. So I brought it in, and initially I was just going to do it the way that I normally do it, just create a little background on there and stuff. But I thought this is a good opportunity for me to really get into Fusion. Now, Fusion is a compositing package, which is kind of like the uncle of Nuke. It's a node-based compositor, and it's built into Fusion. I've got Fusion Studio. I don't have the separate version. And if you're familiar with nodes, familiar with Nuke, it's basically the same thing. You can do everything that Nuke can do. The paint tools are not quite as good as Nuke's. There's a few special things. There's a few tools, I think. Tracking seem to be identical. It's got planar tracker, point tracker, 3D camera tracker. Its 3D tool is really nice. It's got very nice particle system. In fact, when I first learned about node-based compositing, when I was using Shake, and I used a little bit of Fusion back in the day, I think version 6, but that was when it was with Ion. Its particle system was about the best of the bunch there, better than Nuke's, but things have changed. Ion kind of languished a little bit and then was bought by Blackmagic, and Blackmagic worked very hard to integrate it, and it's fabulous. It works really, really seamlessly. It took a while, not really long, like a couple of lessons, just to get my head back into the way that Fusion does things, because it's so similar to Nuke, yet it's different in a few ways that does kind of trip you up a little bit. Everyone has the same functionality, but the dials in different places, you know what I mean? One of the things I understand that Fusion doesn't do is deep compositing. So if you're working with CG, you can't do that. It has a thing called deep pixel compositing, which came out before deep compositing, but it's not the same thing. It's a different thing. So that's it. It's got a lot of good tools, and so I literally just started by bringing in the pictograph guy and creating a shadow. And the good thing with the nodes is that it's very self-explanatory. So I read in this graphic, I create a shadow, I put it into perspective, I transform it so it lines up with his feet perfectly, then I merge it with the background, which is this background here. Then I put a vignette over it and I color correct it a little bit to get just the color that I want, and then I merge it with the pictographic man again on top of the shadow, and this is where all the fancy what do we got? The particle system comes into place. So what I found that I had to do, and this might take a while to render, is that I had to do. Oh, that's not too bad. Come over here. I had to render like two different systems basically. So I had the basic system here, which is the blood spurts, which is technically actually three different spurts to create the layer that I wanted. The two main ones, and then there's like a lighter colour that comes out slightly different viscosity, I guess, of the second, and then the ground. So when the stuff lands on the ground, it lands where I want it. Now the reason I did it separately, I could have done it as one, but because I'm tracking the explosion, the geyser, the blood geyser onto my pictographic guy, what was happening, it was also tracking the blood that caught on the floor. And to see how simple this is, here are the emitters. There's one particle there, there's a second particle, that's the emitter for that one, so it just emits the particles. They have a particle merge node, so it merges the particles together into one unit. Particle directional force, which is gravity in my case. P bounce, which is particle bounce, or in my case I turned the bounce all the way off and made a really grippy surface so it didn't bounce as much. And then you render it, P render, transform the geysers into exactly the spot I want, and that feeds into a tracker which is tracking a point on his belly. I did make a mistake, is when I rendered this out from Moho, he goes off the screen, and now what I should have done is maybe made the stage a little bit better and had Pictographic Man wander off the screen in a larger canvas and resized it here. Or what I could have done is rendered out like a little block purely for tracking, but that's something to learn for next time. So probably what I do next time is when I render this out, I will render out a little block that I can use for tracking, just to make things a little bit easier. But you know what, it worked fine. It worked fine. The problem with Pictographic Man being so smooth, there's not a lot for the tracker to hold on to. But you know what, the tracker worked really well. It is, if you've used the tracker in any other program like in Nuke and After Effects, it's the same thing. It's very, very similar. You can track forward, you can track backwards, you can stop it, you can do offsets. Very straightforward. And then what this tracker does, also has a merge operation on here, so you can literally just flip it over to match move after you've done your tracking, and it acts as a merge and literally just merges it in, so it's kind of like two nodes in one really. That mode merges with the ground plane capture, and all of that goes together into one plane. Now the beauty with this doing it this way is that the ground plane stays fixed because there's no tracking, but the blood spurts, the geysers or geysers, tracks with the body. And then it's just very basic stuff like I just did some more color correcting, like I put some light rays on after everything, blurred it just a fractionally to give it a little smooth sort of film feel, and then it goes media out, which takes you back to the timeline. So if you press Shift F4, all of this renders as a solid piece. One of the things I discovered with Fusion is that if you're using a graphic input rather than creating a separate composite, then it's very hard to extend or contract that composite. Much better to create an empty composite and then build that from within. So what I actually had to do is create two composites, which is an inelegant way of doing it. All I wanted to do is, if we go back, all I really wanted to do was create a time stretch node here. You can see I tried it here, which would have paused the animation when Pictograph walks off, but the blood would have carried on spurting out the back, and it would basically just like be a freeze frame. However, what I did was actually create a freeze frame as a separate composition by literally just copying this, deleting everything I didn't need, putting the time stretch on here, and that time stretch literally just blocked it. So it works very, very well. You know, I just like disconnected all the bits that I didn't want. A bit inelegant. When you disconnect the nodes, it doesn't actually render the nodes, so it's like effectively like switching them off. I could have just switched them off as well, but just disconnecting the flow, and then rendered it out, and then we had, you know, our animation, which is up on the website, which is, let's turn this down. So I ended up with this, and I think I've got really nice. It's very simple. It's sort of went around the houses, tried a whole bunch of different stuff, and I just wanted to keep it very simple. It's got nice, the shadow works really nicely on there, there's a few things that's not right. If you look at the box is a little bit too far forward, so the shadow didn't work properly with him. I could have rendered those out to 2 different levels instead of just one and put it together. And I found a real massive problem I had here was getting the hands in the right position, because I wanted this hand to be in front of that leg and this hand to be in front of the box at this point of the animation. But back here at the beginning, the torso needed to be in front of this hand and this hand in front of that, you know, and over here I want that hand now he's rotated to move around. So some of this is done with action, so when he rotates to a certain distance, his arms get in the right position, you know, they fall into perspective. And for this little thing here, I just brute forced it. I could have created a switch for it, and I should have created a switch for it, but you know, it's all part of the learning process, and then everything that I've learned from this goes into the next bit. And yeah, you know, like for some, this was really difficult. I finished the animation at one point and I exported the renders, and something really crazy happened. I can show you here. Let's get the, I kept it. Show me. Oh no, that's not it. That's the good render. The bad render. Oh wait a minute, I might have put it. So you can see what happened here is it created just a weird black mark in the background. I couldn't figure out where that black mark was coming from, and it seemed to me it was caused in Moho by having too many things nested, like a nest within a nest sort of situation. So you can see here that was the main body, and I think because I had the hands sitting in front of the main body, and it was a lot of this was all brute forced, which I wouldn't do this time. And oh yeah, the thing that I discovered was that if you want to fade stuff in and out using the animated effects, if is a folder within a folder. So the issue that I had here was the left hand front. I can fade this level out at this level, but the way I had constructed the model was that I'd literally just had a group, but I couldn't fade out the uppermost folder, if that makes sense, like the root folder. So this one would not fade in and out and cause me problems. I had to go down an extra level and fade these in and out. And on the animation that I had, it was just causing me trouble. But you know, because I did it iteratively, I could roll back to an earlier animation, and we could just go from there. So we ended up with Pictographic Man in the animated form. So like I was saying before, this here is one layer, and these spurts are the second layer. So these are just spurting out, and some are being caught and some are falling down, because I wanted to get that effect like it's squirting in front of the camera. But there is a layer being caught here. Now I did this in 2D, not in 3D, and if you look very closely here, you can see that the pixels, the little particles are dropping off what I call the edge of the table. So they stay there for a moment and they gradually get pushed off and they fall off. It doesn't happen in 3D, but it happens in 2D, and I haven't quite figured that out, but this is good enough for me, and this is sort of what I had in mind. When I did it, I didn't storyboard this at all. I just knew what I was going to do, single shot, Pictographic Man, because I'm kind of obsessed with pictographs, and one of my first jobs that I really enjoyed was working in a sign shop, a couple of sign shops back in New Zealand, and I love pictograms. I've got books, I'm obsessed by them, and he pops up every now and again when I do animation, and I thought what better to do piss take of children's shows crossed with health and safety instructional videos, and Pictogram Man himself, and ended up calling him Pictograph or Pictograph because I mispronounced it in the recording. It was Picto for a long time, and I just ended up in the recording I like the best calling him Picto. You, but you don't need to know that anyway. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes of what I did. And if you want to see one last thing, I should have this is my reference, which includes my dialogue. So it was literally, I just came in and decided that I would just sort of fake it, really. So this is where I come from. Hey, Picto. That's a box. Would you mind picking it up for me? Remember to use your legs though, not your back. Yeah, if you use your legs, you won't hurt your back. Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Oh, Picto, that's a shame, isn't it? Remember, boys and girls, always pick up stuff using your legs rather than bending your back. I think that's why Picto sort of limps. I got a weird sort of limp, so that's why Picto sort of limps in the beginning. Yeah. Obviously, it's a bit of a deviation from that. It was just the basis, but to try and get like the basic walk and timing, and so yeah. Anyway, that's a little of the behind the scenes, the process, and yeah. Hope you enjoyed it, and give me a few weeks, and I'll get another one out. Not sure which one it's going to be yet, so we'll have to stay tuned. But Pictograph will definitely make a return. I have plans for the slightly accident-prone health and safety guy. Okay, ciao for now. You all take it easy and stay cool till after school.